I'm John Annakin. I am a right arrow. Does that work? I'm a 1991 Krannert grad. I'm going to kind of go back and forth so the bar in the middle doesn't disrupt the view of the screen. 1991 Krannert graduate, and I am the Chief Revenue Officer of a company based in Indianapolis, Indiana. You guys know where that is because you're all Purdue grads, called ClearObject. ClearObject, in its simplest form, helps companies launch their IoT initiatives in the cloud. So today I'm going to talk about what the heck that means, IoT initiative in the cloud. We'll talk about why companies are investing how they are in people and in time in these IoT initiatives. What are they trying to address? And we'll talk about the shift we're seeing in the industry from enterprise software tools to born on the cloud platform and what that means, and we're going to do it in 20 minutes. Okay? So first of all, the first question might be, why is a guy from Indiana talking about IoT in San Francisco? Kind of backwards, and my contention would be that the companies in the IoT space in the Midwest are really at the heart of the change we're seeing in industry with IoT, and I'll describe what that means. And also geographically, Indiana is a very good place to be, which might be surprising, and we'll discuss that as well, kind of part of the title of the presentation. So just a quick little background on ClearObject. So this company was started 7 years ago, and the business case was and has always been very straightforward, which is that large enterprises were investing in enterprise tools back in 2010 to power their big data initiatives. Back then, it was called big data or embedded software or collaborative lifecycle management. It's what IoT is today, but back then it was a different word. And our job was to take those complex tools, architect them, and provide them to these companies as a service, which is how they wanted to consume these tools. Software makers in general that we worked with just want to sell their licenses. So we would take those licenses and we'd layer on some services. First of all, we put them in private cloud spaces. We would inject those deployments back into the networks of these enterprises. So it's kind of set with their hybrid cloud strategy. We'd then layer on monitoring tools for usage and billing and health, and we'd layer on services like trouble tickets and upgrade this product and you make sure the other product doesn't break, and security and backups and that kind of stuff. Very, very common stuff. And it worked, right? So the software companies were selling their software, and these large enterprises were consuming the software they wanted, the way they wanted to power their IoT initiatives. Great business model for us, and it put us right into the heart of what's now called IoT, which is companies making software and then producing data and then getting value out of that data. But it also we learned that it was important for us to be in Indiana. So Indiana is a day's drive from 80% or so of the nation's manufacturing companies, and I would say that manufacturing, along with a couple other verticals, is the area really powering the IoT initiatives. So think in the Midwest, the OEM auto suppliers, and then the many tiers of suppliers under them. Think appliance makers, electronic component companies, biomedical organizations. It's the hotbed of this IoT shift, along with a couple other verticals, which would be distribution, so warehousing and trucking and retail and logistics, and then agricultural, food processing, bioscience. It's really the place to be. And even if today, if we started the company today, we would start it in Indiana because it's really in the heart of all three of those giant areas. And so what are these companies doing when we say they're involved in the IoT initiatives? Well, first of all, let me define it how I would. We're going to spend the next couple hours with some professors who will go deeper in this. But in my world, IoT is really the convergence of two domains, software development and data analytics. And back in 2010, we called them software development and data analytics. Today it's called IoT. You have to create software which then goes somewhere, which then produces data that you collect and then do something with. That's IoT, right? Software goes somewhere. Sometimes it goes into a device, a thing. Sometimes the software just is used to grab data from from sources that are already out there, but then you connect and you collect and connect that data, store it, and then you do something with it that changes your business. That's IoT today. So then you might ask, okay, I got that, but why would an appliance maker, right, manufacturer care about this? So let's go through an example. I love examples. So let's say you get a knock on the door, some guy from UPS shows up with a box, and inside the box you see some hoses, and it's from Whirlpool. And you think, oh, that's right, I have a clothes washer that's from Whirlpool. I had no idea. I bought it at, Fry's, and I guess it is Whirlpool. And in the box it says, we think your hoses are going to fail, so here are instructions, and here's some hoses to replace them, or, information for 3 service centers to come and fix the hoses, thus saving your basement from being flooded, or if your washing machine's on the 2nd floor like mine, from your house from being flooded. So why is Whirlpool doing this? Well, if you look at a little history of appliance manufacturers like a Whirlpool, so they're a Benton Harbor, Michigan-based appliance company, and their history has been manufacturing and electronics, right? And they would change their business and remain competitive in the past by putting in new features and saving some manufacturing cost or building branding. And if other companies were kind of passing them by, they would buy them, right? Kenmore, Kitchen, this is all now the Whirlpool empire. Well, 10 years ago, that kind of played out and became a global economy, and so now they have players like GE and Electrolux and Samsung, Panasonic, on and on and on, right? Siemens, Bosch. And so the way that Whirlpool remains competitive is offering services. And with their plan for data is to use the data to provide a service, a feature that makes them different. So now when you think of Whirlpool, you think Whirlpool, your house won't flood, whatever the branding is. That's how they remain competitive, right? And that's happening all over. This is in their product's called 6th Sense. That's their new feature. It's called 6th Sense. And it's happening all over the world and in every industry, but specifically companies who make, move, and grow things, right? So many examples, sometimes they're in the cost savings bucket, right? I want to save cost on the manufacturing floor, so I'm going to use sensors that predict when a label is starting to go off kilter. So instead of waiting until you have made 5,000 bottles of ketchup, you catch it early, you fix it, right? Saving costs. Or it could be out in the fields, you have sensors actually next to the crops, so you only fertilize the crops that need it, right? Sounds simple. That's IoT. It saves you a ton of fertilizer and increases yields. It could be a new service like Whirlpool for competitive events. It could be a net new revenue stream. We're going to, as a company, provide a service and for pay, which is going to help with the margins on this side of the business, right? Whatever it is, it's company changing. It changes how companies invest in their people, how they hire, invest in assets, how they think strategically. I just heard, like last week, half of Ford's engineers today are software engineers. So what was that in 1995 or 2005? Like 5%, 2%? Half of their engineers are software engineers. Ford is a software company now, as much as they are a manufacturer, okay? So given this, this explosion in IoT projects, we've seen a change in the last 18 months only, a couple years at the most, and of a person that we've seen now at these companies that we call an intrapreneur. It's an entrepreneur that's stuck inside a large organization. And this person is typically not in IT. They're usually line of business, so product manager or an insurance VP, or engineering vice president, or somebody in manufacturing. It's somebody who understands their business, has enough clout to get things done, and sees that the future of the company is data-driven. Intrapreneurs. The problem, though, is they're not executives, and there's no buy-in yet on this idea of making a new service for my appliance. So they have to start small, build some kind of momentum to convince people this is what we have to do, which is really created this whole new solution for IoT called Born on the Cloud platforms. And there are hundreds now. 5 years ago, there were 3. Now there are 350. It's from companies like GE Predix is a major one, IBM Watson, Microsoft Azure, Amazon AWS, Google Cloud Platform. And so platforms now offer something very different than the only way it used to be in the past, which is where my company was built off of, which was complex enterprise tools that you bought and then constructed to solve a problem. Now there are platforms. Platforms offer something very different in the industry in that they're already in the cloud and they already have microservices that you, the word is instantiate, which means you just click on, that build out what very expensive millions of dollars of software used to do 2-3 years ago. Software is still there, but those are invested in with companies that already know they have to get there. They already have a data-driven strategy, so they have the funding to buy the software to get going. This allows you to start very light, very quickly, build an IoT phase 1 alpha, for example, for a little bit of investment, and then use that to gain groundswell in your company. This is the tool of an intrapreneur that we're talking about. So in here, this is actual Google's depiction of a simple platform, but you would find data sources that you want to subscribe to, or maybe you want to attach to your own data, your own product. You click on how you want to ingest the software. You click on if you want to normalize the data. You instantiate microservices to talk about where do you want to store it, what kind of data is this, is it private, is it structured, unstructured. You click on how you want to model the data so you can start making sense of it. And then finally, how you want to present that information to your constituents. Is it a graph? Is it a beeper? You know, is it a text message? I just said the word beeper. That's aged. That aged me. But this has fundamentally changed the industry. It allows everyone, kind of, everybody to get in the game with a small amount of money and a little bit of time. That's why you see so many platforms out there. It's also caused a problem. So the problem is it's the Wild West. So again, a long time ago, 5 years ago, people would buy complex software, which means IBM or many other software manufacturers would come in the door and they would spend a year. You'd write an RFP, you tell them what your requirements are, they'd help you out, they'd tell you these are the tools you need to purchase and put together to solve your problem. Now it's nobody. You can just go to Google today or Amazon today, click on some things, pay $200 and get a platform. So there's just a lot of mistakes being made. And the problem with the platform is it's the last thing that you actually want to go to, right? The first thing you need to do, and this is part of our company's mantra when we're meeting new organizations, is you need a strategy. The word is ideation, but it's really, what's the strategy? What's the data used for? We just discussed it. Is it a cost saver? Is it a warranty? Is it a net new revenue stream? What are we trying to do here? Build a strategy and then go to the sensors if you need sensors. So many companies go to things, they say, I need devices that send data because that's IoT, but it's not. It's just a piece of IoT. You might have a sensor on a truck sending data, but it's the data that you need. What kind of data was it? What are you doing with this data, right? And then we have companies that hire development shops to code applications on a phone so they can get data. But then the problem is the application was developed by developers, no offense, but it doesn't look very good. It's hard to use. No one uses it. It goes nowhere. So we always preach, have a strategy, which then feeds your edge strategy. And edge is a fancy word for sensors, devices, gateway, networks. And then you develop to that edge and develop to the platform, right? So an IoT in the new age of platforms is actually 4 things, not 1: strategy, edge, development, and then the cloud platform. And if you do that, then you can build things like this. So this is actually from a auto components company in Ohio. I tried to block out the name. I think I did totally, which is good. Intrapreneur, middle manager, knew their company's future must be data-driven. In this case, this is on Google, but it can be a platform. And in about 6 weeks, they were able to build a tire pressure monitoring platform as a way to show the executives in this company that this is the future of the organization, which worked. And so now they're going into a production version. So in 6 weeks, very little money. We have track and trace visualizations. Where are these trucks today? What's the life of the tire during the journey? We have granular tire health information, event-driven fault code information, warranty implications. This stuff 5 years ago would have been $3 million of software in a year and a half to implement. 6 weeks. So that shift with platforms is allowing, kind of feeding this IoT frenzy that wasn't there 5 years ago, right? So now we're seeing kind of a push from enterprise organizations to small, medium medium-sized engineering firms and manufacturing firms, which, by the way, power the country. Okay. How are we doing on time? 4 minutes. Great. So last example, I love this one, so I'm going to use it again. This is a good example of a journey of a company that went from your appliance, maker, your electronics producer to a full IoT services company. So imagine you're driving your car. It's 3 in the morning. We never want to ask why you're in the car at 3 in the morning. But let's say your car senses that you're starting to drift into the other lane a little bit. And so it says to you, hey, there's a 24-hour Starbucks 2 exits up. Do you want your favorite venti chai latte? Which is, we won't question why it's a chai latte. We're not judging here. And you say, in your phone or push a button, sure. So your car hits your Chase account, talks to the Starbucks online ordering system, which already exists, and says that you want your favorite drink. You pull up, get your chai latte, and you're on your way. Okay? So that's IoT for a company called Panasonic. So Panasonic, we all know they make Tesla batteries and washing machines and televisions. They're also the world's largest infotainment producer for the automotive industry. But what's crazy, infotainment, the buttons that the screens that we all push, but the crazy thing 10 years ago, they weren't screens, they were these. We all had them. They're called radios, right? Panasonic was a mid-pack player in the radio market with automotive companies, right? They were an electronics manufacturer. And the only thing they cared about was, does the radio fit into the slot? Does the back cable fit into the cable in the Ford, Explorer, whatever you had? Maybe you want a CD changer in the back, and maybe you want a strip that talks about the song that's playing. But they're just an electronics manufacturer. The problem is, as we all know, in 2005, nobody knew what radio it was and nobody cared. And Panasonic knew that they had to change or they were going to be eliminated in that marketplace. In fact, they would leave the marketplace because there's no money in it. It's a commodity. So they decided to become a software company overnight, right? This is actually, there are 2,000 software developers now at Panasonic. In 2002, there were maybe 100, right? One giant system globally to produce massive software for the OEMs around the globe. And so now Panasonic became this infotainment supplier, making software for Mercedes and Ford and GM, et cetera, but not just any software that had 20 million lines of code in it. So what does that mean? What's 20 million lines of code? Again, electronics manufacturer 10 years ago, now making 20 million lines of code. Well, a Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor, which was built primarily in the late 80s, early 90s, had 1.6 million lines of code in it. A Boeing 787 Dreamliner, which was produced in the early 2000s, let's say, 6.5 million lines of code. And a 2017 Mercedes S-Class has 20 million lines of code in the radio. The estimates are the car has 100 million lines of code, right? So that company went from electronics to developer in about 10 years, but now they're stuck again. Now there are other players in this market, right? Harman International is a major player. I think passed them by. Samsung just bought Harman 2 weeks ago or a month ago. Bosch is in this game, Pioneer, Denso. So now, where are we again? We're at that commodity again. You're Whirlpool 10 years ago, right? So they have to shift now to become a services company, right? This is Panasonic today, One Connect. Basically, they're getting into the place where now your car provides a service for you. In my example, it's the services, it's saving you and the car, but this is becoming where Panasonic has to go. It's the same story if you're a maker, grower, mover, right? You're using data to fundamentally change your business. It changes what you invest in. It changes how you think about the next 5 years of your company. It changes everything. And in our company, we say the Internet of Things is the biggest thing since anything. So hopefully this will give you a little look into that. 43 seconds left. Yeah, 20 minutes. No questions. We have no time. Thanks.